Hello everyone, my name is Monica. I am a girl who gets shots every day, and I do them myself. Why? To make myself better. You're going to think it's weird and say, but it hurts. But I'm going to tell you all about it. At the time this story happened to me, I was 15 years old. I loved large handbags because a lot of my things fit in them. One day I went with a friend to a cool cosmetic store, and at the entrance, they wouldn't let me through a special machine. It started beeping like crazy. What the hell? I didn't steal anything. Why is it beeping?
Let me see your purse, ma'am.
What? It's my personal belongings. I'm not going to let any of you guys go through it. Come on, Monty. We're just wasting time now. The store will close soon. Let him check. But I can't. Why not? What's wrong? Do you have anything illegal in there? Ah ha ha, funny. No, I'm going to go. I've got stuff to do. I'll call you later, Gwen. Bye. I got a little uncomfortable. Yes, I had secrets from my friend that no one knew, except for one person, a former acquaintance of mine. He disappeared a few years ago, and since then, I haven't told anyone about it. I went to the nearest public restroom and locked myself in a stall, then took a syringe and my vitamins out of my purse. More often than not, I injected glucose. Why? To feel satiated, like glucose instead of food. You inject it if you don't eat enough, or if you're in a coma. I'm not saying I didn't eat well, I just always thought that medication was the only way to keep myself in good shape. And if we live in a world where that good stuff is plentiful, why not take advantage of the gifts of civilization, right? My love and fetish for shots started a long time ago. In my purse, you could always find alcohol wipes, disposable syringes, and some medicine. I often had them in addition to glucose, saline, 3 types of antibiotics, antihistamines, Ampol for asthmatics, adrenaline, vitamin B, C, nicotinic acid. This is not what you think about when you think of vitamins. Well, and a bunch of other things, but those were the basics. Think about how powerful the science of medicine is, how powerful it is, how many lives it has saved, and how many more will be saved. I dreamed of becoming a doctor. I thought it was my duty. It seemed to me that I was more than capable, that I had a gift, because I always remembered things so easily, like the names of drugs and what to mix with what. My mother used to be a doctor, too. She was the one who taught me how to give shots, and then well, never mind. When my mom passed away, my dad got sick, too. Almost immediately after the funeral, he didn't feel well. Dad, are you sick? I can help. Let me give you something.
How?
Mom taught me how to give shots.
What shots? What would I need them for?
To cure you.
But how do you know how to give these things?
I read things on the internet and in books.
And you're sure about it?
But before Dad and I could finish talking, I had already given him one, and he was fast asleep. Don't ask me what I mixed with what. I did it instinctively because I'm a doctor's daughter. My mother was a very cool surgeon and anesthesiologist. She was very appreciated at work, and I was proud that she was my mom. Dad woke up the next morning and felt great.
You do look just like your mother. I feel much better. Thank you, daughter.
You're welcome, Daddy. I started to feel unwell close to lunchtime. I had a headache and went to the bathroom. I remembered how my mom taught me how to give myself injections, and I diluted the medicine, painkillers, and gave myself 1 shot. I, of course, took a long time to adjust, and for good reason. I hit a muscle, but that didn't stop me. The needle got stuck in the muscle. I started to inject the medicine, but it just wouldn't go in. Then I pressed the cap of the syringe with both hands and forced the medicine in. Then I pulled the needle out by force. Instantly, blood spurted back into the syringe, along with the drug. I honestly freaked out, of course, and then the phone rang from the other room. Someone was calling. Oh shit, perfect timing! And before I put my pants back on, I took a step forward and fell belly first onto the floor. I looked back and realized that my leg had gone numb. I hadn't just hit a muscle, I must have hit something else. But the phone was ringing and I needed to answer it, so I decided to crawl like a soldier. After a moment, the phone stopped ringing, and since it was on top of the table, I couldn't reach it anyway. I looked down at my buttock, and only then did I notice that I had left a red plume on the floor in my wake. It looked like there was a violent fight for life going on in the bathroom. It was unclear who was hurting whom. Making another attempt to get up, I just lay on the floor to wait and fell asleep like that. An hour later, my father returned from work. And imagine his face when he saw his daughter lying in the room with her pants half down, the lights on everywhere, and blood on the floor. Yep, it was a mess. He had already called the police by the time I woke up, and I could barely talk him out of it. Since then, I realized that I needed to practice more, so I started injecting myself more often. Well, how much more often? Every day. I was supposed to become a great doctor, to treat people, and I needed the practice. You know, like all those crazy scientists who develop some new drug and then test it on themselves. I did about the same thing. And after 6 months, I even started liking it. I started getting my shots faster, better, and I became almost a pro. My purse was filled with more and more medicines. I read my mother's medical books, though I had little understanding of them. But that's not the point. I was still a schoolgirl. That's when I met a friend named Charlie. Or rather, he was a friend then. Charlie knew about my new hobby and asked me to stop. Why? What's the big deal? You're not being any better than a junkie. It's not drugs, it's medication. What's the difference? There's a big difference. Look at you, you've got nothing left. Have you ever injected your ass before? Then your legs, your arms. You have no training. How could you even give shots to anyone, let alone yourself? Oh, Charlie, I know all that. You don't know shit. When it gets worse, you'll understand. He and I had a big fight back then, but he called me the same night and said his dog was having another seizure and needed an injection. That's where I came in handy. I went in and gave him the shot, and an hour later, the dog died. When they called the vet, he said that I hadn't calculated the dosage properly. From then on, Charlie stopped being friends with me and he left with his family, and I was alone. I didn't feel good. I felt like I was going back to that feeling when my mom died. That is, I was sinking into depression and didn't even want to use the shots. I got on the internet and read that antidepressants could help me, and I decided to buy them and inject them into me in liquid form, but they were sold under a strict prescription. How good that I still had my mother's stamps, and I was good at forging her handwriting. Thus, I began to give myself higher-level injections. I was getting better. I was even more proud that I was going to be a great doctor. Then I had Gwen. We got along well, only I didn't tell her anything about it. My passion grew stronger and stronger. I started giving injections unnecessarily, even to people who didn't ask for them. My dad would complain about anything, friends, neighbors, and so on. I was sure that I was doing everything right. And then something happened. Something inside me clicked. I realized that I prefer to give injections to people, but not everyone would agree to them every day, and the hospital wouldn't take me. Then I came up with a plan and got a job as a technician at a cosmetology clinic. It was of dubious nature, with cheap prices, but that's what I needed. On the first day of work, while the patients were lying on the couch, I noticed that the beauticians themselves were out. I quickly put on their robes and face masks and went into their office. I introduced myself as their assistant and said that I had to give them a shot. The girl asked what kind of shot. I said it was a sedative and a painkiller, and she agreed. In a hurry, I opened my purse and couldn't find the right drug. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. I heard familiar voices in the street. It was them. I quickly grabbed some medication and injected it into the girl's vein. Then I left and changed my clothes. When the beauticians came into the room, I heard shouting. The girl had passed out. Damn, I said to myself, and took an empty bottle out of my purse to see what I'd given her. Turns out, I diluted sleeping pills instead of painkillers. Anyway, she lived, thank God. It was a miracle. They found me quick. I almost went to jail. But before that, they sent me for a psychiatric evaluation. They told me that I was deeply depressed due to my mother's death, and my love of injections was my defensive reaction. It got out of control because, well, I wanted to heal people because I couldn't help my mother overcome her illness, even though she was a medic herself. It's complicated. So I'm getting treated for it now, and I'm not giving anybody shots anymore.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Barbie. Yeah, don't laugh, but my mom really likes that name. And she called me that for a reason. She wanted me to be born the most beautiful girl in the world. And you know what? I was born the most only the most ugliest girl in the world. Now I'll tell you what and how. In the meantime, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and watch on. To begin with, I will tell you about my family. I have beautiful parents. Yes, this is really true. My father and mother are very tall. They are both burning dark with milk-light skin. They both have big eyes, gorgeous hair, a figure, and great taste in clothes and music. By the way, yes, they met at work. Both worked as models for one popular fashion designer at the time. They were leading among all colleagues, so their pair was created quickly and expectedly. My mom's name is Gwen, and my dad's name is Dylan. They both built a modeling career, but when it came to retire due to age, they decided to get married, but managed to open their own modeling agency. Business was going well because they managed to make a name for themselves. Their fame went far beyond the country, and many girls and boys sought to get into their school to learn and get to the top designers at the most luxury shows and private parties. What can I say? You cannot forbid to live beautifully. And then my mom got pregnant with me. They were expecting a child because they were already ready, because dad and mom had had enough time to travel, make a fortune, accumulate capital, and only the child remained. Mom told me that when they found out they were having a girl, my mom was just overjoyed because she had dreamed that they would have a beauty of a daughter who will conquer the world and will eclipse all the beauty and will tell people whose kid she is. So I will continue to thank my parents and make them even more famous. She and father made repairs at home, lovers of aesthetics, did everything to make everything look as beautiful as possible without frills, and so that you can take a picture at any time and it was beautiful. And then my birthday came. My mother immediately christened me by the name of Barbie. For some reason, she was sure that I would look like a doll. I would have huge eyes, long eyelashes, plump lips, and to her great regret, I was born red, wrinkled, and dissatisfied. She was even upset for a second, so my father said he was present at the birth, but the doctors calmed her down, said that that's what all children look like after birth. When we were discharged home, I still looked like a boiled cancer. A month passed, 2, 5, and I still looked like the first day of my life. My hair didn't grow well, and I was bald for almost a year. The more I grew up, the more disappointed my mother became. My father reassured her. Like, it's our daughter and all that. The main thing is that our daughter is healthy. My mother also deceived herself, but in the end, the lie made itself felt. The press took pictures and everyone wrote about the ugly duckling. That is, me. My parents were upset about it, even though they didn't show it. I was not taken to more than one celebration. Always left at home with a nanny. I was not shown publicly in the light. Only if by chance someone did notice. I felt all this. Just did not realize until the end. When I grew up even more and I was 16 years old, we moved to another city. I was sent to a school where I was still the ugliest girl in the class. As soon as they saw me, they all laughed. And when they heard my name, they laughed even harder. Where is it seen that Barbie was full, like me, with narrow eyes, a big nose, thin lips, all closed in on herself, complexed and hunched? And I was just like that. Every day was like a test for me. I hated myself, my reflection in the mirror, my voice, my manners, everything, and I couldn't talk about it with anyone. That's how I lived until I met someone. And so I turned 17. My class and I were going to go to another school for a math competition. I didn't participate. I just had to hold a poster as support. And when I stood in the middle of the hall to pick up the poster, one of the guys from another school pushed me. I fell and the poster broke under me. He shouted loudly that the paper couldn't support my weight, and everyone laughed. I cried and ran to the bathroom. I didn't want to live, but suddenly, someone knocked on the booth where I was crying. It was a guy. I shooed him away, reminding him that it was a woman's bathroom, but he didn't leave. I went out to him and he apologized for his classmate. He was a handsome guy with a gorgeous smile. I thought he wanted to laugh, but no, he asked me out. Can you imagine? I couldn't believe it myself, but he actually invited me as a girl and we started dating. Our relationship gave me motivation. I became more confident. I know people said, why did he choose me and what did he find attractive about me? But Sam, that was his name, said that he was happy and interested in me. Even my mother was surprised by our relationship. But the funny thing is, he didn't know who my parents were. This added to my confidence in his sincerity. We had dated for 6 months. It was a happy time. We walked everywhere, took pictures, he took me to restaurants. We talked for hours on the phone and during walks. Sam was wonderful. And then, unbeknownst to me, he started taking me shopping. I didn't like this business. I could never find my own clothes. But he insisted. He put expensive clothes on me, bought them for me, but I didn't have the courage to wear them. One night before I went to bed, I was determined to take care of myself. So I told Sam and he helped me. I went on a diet and started exercising at home. Every time I wanted to give up, he encouraged me. It was important. I lost weight every month, and every month we went shopping again, where he showed clearly how much I had changed. After 8 months, I went to a beauty salon, where I was given a fashionable hairstyle, haircut, coloring, taught to do makeup, and I came out a different person. Looking at myself in the mirror, I realized that I was now living up to my name. That's what faith in a person does. Even my mother couldn't help me as much as Sam. I was happy. I proudly held hands with him and we went to the prom together. I was like a queen, fit, beautiful, and confident. Since then, I've never let anyone trample me in the mud. I realized that if you don't love yourself, how can anyone respect you? Do you guys agree with me? Write your opinion in the comments. In the comments.